We'll look at Nextflow for pipelines. Nextflow is a pipeline language that you use to define and run your analysis workflow. And you can use it on GCP in two ways. You can execute Compute Engine instances, and there will be containers running on top, or Compute Engine and Genomics Pipelines APIs. You also can run this on other execution environments, other clouds. You can run it locally, and so you have a lot of flexibility around working with it. So we're going to take a look at running an example on the GCP Cloud Shell. It's somewhat analogous to running it locally because you're running it on that VM, but it's a good place for us to start. So we're going to actually look at the RNAseq pipeline example from the Nextflow site, and you can see here are the basic examples. So you have a pipeline, mixing scripting languages, a BLAST pipeline, RNAseq, and a variant calling pipeline. That's a real extensive example that's a link out to a GitHub repo, and it uses GATK. It's set up with GATK3. There is a branch for GATK4 as well. This example shows how to put together an RNA-seq pipeline. It maps the collection of read pairs to a given reference genome and outputs the respective transcript model. So you can see we have some input here on 6 and 7, and then we have a reference file listed on 13. And then we create a channel for working with the data. And then we have a couple of steps in our process. The first step builds the index, and that's using the bowtie tool. The second step uses the top hat 2 tool, and it maps each read pair using that tool. And the third step assembles the transcript using the cufflinks tool and publishes it into a results folder. So in order to run this, we just copy this command. This is out of the examples. And we go ahead and we open a shell in GCP. And again, this is really very similar to doing it locally. The difference is this is just a method of working with GCP when you're trying things out. You're basically using a virtual machine on GCP. So let's go ahead and just curl that. And that's going to get that example. All right, and then to run the example, we just need to launch it. And we're running it with a Docker image that will pull down those 3 tools. And you can see the first process is complete, the building the index, and now it's in the mapping phase. And now this is completed. Now we could just use our shell commands to take a look at the results, but there's another tool that I'll often use here, and so just for general development, and it just makes sense to show in this example, something called the code editor. So what this will do is it'll launch a new window, and it's a browser-based code editor. It's a tip in general for working with GCP, because when you're trying a lot of samples, your virtual machine has persistence to its file system for Cloud Shell. And so just a tip that I've had is if you try a sample, sometimes you remove the sample, it doesn't remove the files. And so, you could use the Linux file system. This is a quick way to look. So you can see that. So then we see the results inside of this folder, and then we can also see the Nextflow file here. Now, we've really just scratched the surface, and this shows you the Docker file inside of my example. This shows you the Nextflow file. I have quite a few other links here. The next step would be for you to do a version of what we just did and interact with cloud storage rather than just saving the results on the particular VM. And I have that linked here as well. And then I have a link to a repository of featured Nextflow pipelines.